Okay, so again, I repeat, this is, we are in chapter 6. We are solving problem 16 of Halliday, and this is Halliday 9th edition. Okay, we already solved part A of this problem. We already solved part B of the problem. What you're seeing on this page here is part B, and now we are going to solve part C. Okay, so let me remind you of what part B was. We have this object here. So let me write it. We have this object here where I'm drawing this. Okay, so we have this object here. And in part B, we are trying to move it up. And that's why we were applying this external force here. This force here, we were applying to try to move it up. We are about to move it up in part B. So we had that maximum friction force against the motion. And that's why we are writing here, this maximum friction force is static. We were about to start the motion. We had not started yet, okay? What is going to happen now in part C of this problem? So not part B anymore. What happens now in part C of this problem? Things are very similar, but now we are going to move. We are going to start moving this object up. Okay, we are going to go up along the incline. When I'm saying up here, is along the incline and with constant. So we'll be moving up with constant speed. Constant speed means this acceleration along that incline is still 0. Okay. All right, now if we are moving, that means we do not have static friction anymore. We are moving. So what do we have now? Still, we have friction against the motion. That is for sure. But what kind of friction? Now we have this friction, but this friction now is kinetic. And this value never changes. Kinetic. So everything in this problem will be very similar to what we did in part B. The only thing that is changing now is instead of maximum static friction, we'll change it. We'll have to change it by kinetic. Okay, so I look at this equation, the x direction. Instead of this maximum static friction, let's get rid of that and put now the friction force, the kinetic friction force. Okay, so when I come to this part here, where I write friction in terms of normal force, what I'm going to do? Well, the equation is still valid, but not static. Okay, so let's get rid of that. And we are going to write now the coefficient of kinetic friction, Fn. And everything is the same. This is the equation to get F. We come in the y direction to get Fn, put it there, and we solve the equation. So what has to change? This is not a static, it's not 0.25, so this is not 0.25. This is now the other coefficient, the coefficient for kinetic friction, and this is 0.15. Okay, so again, I changed that. Instead of 0.25, which is what we use in part B of the problem, I'm going to put here 0.15 because it's the coefficient of kinetic friction. And that's all. The problem is done, very similar, the rest to part B.